The WWE Hall of Fame is the Friday before WrestleMania, and hell has frozen over because, and I can't believe I'm fucking saying this, but it's happening, folks. It's not a joke, it's not a drill. Double J, Jeff Jarrett, is going into the WWE Hall of Fame, and WWE even credits him as promoting shows that gave future WWE stars like AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, and Eric Young their first major exposure. And we'll get to that reason why that happened in a little bit. But, I mean, what can you say about Jeff Jarrett? Besides the fact that this is actually happening. Many people didn't believe this would ever happen because of something that we'll talk about later on when we get to it. But, you know, when you think of Jeff Jarrett, you think of his career, you have to think about his father. Jerry Jarrett, a legendary promoter in the state of Tennessee, which Jeff really benefited from over the years, as well as his grandfather, Eddie Marlin, for those in the Memphis area, would know as a great wrestler in his own credit. And the on-again, off-again, a 40 figure in the CWA, the CWF, USWA, any version of Memphis wrestling, aside from Power Pro Wrestling, you know, maybe a one-off or something. But Eddie Marlin would be the on-again, off-again, a 40 figure for Memphis wrestling in general. And surprisingly, for those that don't know, also was Jeff Jarrett's grandfather as well, which is also kind of cool. But it also ties around Jeff's career in the state of Tennessee and he's been everywhere. And I mean everywhere, like the CWA, the AWA, the USWA, the WWF, obviously, I mean WCW, at the NWA, AAA, World Wrestling All-Stars, which we'll get to that in a little bit, and probably, you know, all over the world, really all over the world, and some might say globally as well. But, you know, I mean, I'm still trying to get over like how this is actually happening. It's fucking awesome. But let's go over the man's accomplishments, because there are many, and even had many managers as well. I don't know why Mr. Fuji's on there, but I'm not going to fucking doubt it. It's Mr. Fuji, fuck it. And that list of managers includes the Roadie, a.k.a. the Road Dogg Jesse James, which you might have heard during the induction or after the induction promo with My Baby Tonight, which was Jeff Jarrett's hit song as he was at that time, JEFF, JARRET, that's Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and ain't he great? But you think about it, with that song, he's going to be the best country music star in the world, and using the WWF as a platform for that, which is interesting, but it works. It worked for the storyline, and it worked for the gimmick. But that song was originally sung not by Jeff Jarrett, and was lip-synced very well, I might add. But it was from the Roadie, who later on became the Road Dogg Jesse James, and the man we know today as SmackDown's, I don't want to say a writer, but basically head of SmackDown, basically, behind the scenes. And of course, Deborah. And this is a PG product now, so I can't really talk about Deborah, but there's a reason there's a network, and you'll thank me for it later. But I can say about Deborah, you know, former wife of Steve Mongo McMichael, and later on became the manager for Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett. Later on, Jim Cornette, which was during the NWA phase of WWF, which actually brought in the NWA North American Championship as well as the NWA tag titles, which was very interesting, you know, to see the NWA titles in the WWF, something that we, you know, with the WWF seceding from the NWA in the early 60s, is something that many people did not think would ever happen. I mean, it was for some time, because it was during the Capital Wrestling phase, but, you know, I don't want to get too off topic there, even though it technically is on topic, but still. Mr. Fuji, which I don't remember Mr. Fuji managing Jarrett. Maybe it was a trial run, or maybe it was during the Yokozuna era for a little bit. But I do remember Tennessee Lee. Fucking great. Fucking amazing. Robert Fuller. Let's say Robert Parker, but Robert Fuller. God. So, ironically did the same gimmick in WCW before coming in. It was shortly lived, but we did get Southern Justice out of it, which was the Godwins with their shoot names. And of course, Miss Kitty, aka the Cat, and again a PG direction for WWE now, so I can't really talk about that much. But there's a fucking network for it, and you'll thank me for it later. And apparently the NWO girls were a fucking manager of Jarrett. They're getting very generous with this, because the new blood, the Harris brothers, they're getting very generous with this list. Don Callis, great manager, used to be the Jackal in WWF. Ronnie P. Gossett, a big name from Memphis, literally and figuratively. The guy was a big guy. Big mouth as well, but it worked. Baby Doll as a manager. You don't hear that name often. Gail Kim during the TNA era. Jackie Gator, Miss Jackie, and of course his now wife, Karen Jarrett, aka Karen Angle. But let's go over the accomplishments of Mr. Jeffrey Jarrett. For the AWA, the American Wrestling Association, the Rookie of the Year in 1986, which, again, the AWA had a relationship with the CWA, we'll get to a little bit. For AAA, and this is where it gets ridiculous, the AAA Mega Championship, or Mega Campeon, or whatever it was. I think that's what it was. But maybe it was just Mega Championship. I think that's what it fucking was. Something like that. Regardless, it's basically AAA's version of their world title. You may have seen it on Lucha Underground a little bit, with Alberto Del Rio holding the title, with their relationship with Lucha Underground at the time. But that's where it gets fucking weird, because Jeff Jarrett was not legally allowed to show the title on TNA because of the sour relationships with New Japan at the time. So they dolled it up, had silver plates on it, and made it the immortal Mexican Heavyweight Championship of the world. Which I don't know why it was of the world, because it was fucking Mexico. But whatever, to make the gimmick work, right? And it made Jarrett a fucking Mexico sympathizer, had a fucking poncho, had a fucking sombrero. For the time it was stupid, but it was awesome, because you saw technically another title on another promotion show. But we'll get to that a little bit as well, because that kind of happened a lot during Jarrett's career, and we'll get to that a little bit after the break here.